Morning, chief.
Could everyone please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why is it talking?
My iPad is doing the pledge of allegiance.
She wants to be included.
I just love technology. Okay, Siri, turn off.
Oh, you're just too funny.
If she answers me, I can't. All right, anyway, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors business meeting for Monday, November 21st, 2022. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss land acquisition, personnel, and litigation. I do want to make an announcement at this time that we will be removing item K from the action item list. It is a motion to adopt the updated employee manual. We are not quite ready to do that as of yet, so that is being struck from the agenda. All right, so first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? All right, next item on the agenda, presentation items. These are informational only. Any possible action will be taken at a future business meeting. Turf field at West Branch Park, PA Rush. You please step up to the table. Give us your names, addresses, serial numbers, blood type. We're ready to go.
Rob Detman, live in 324 Hamilton Drive, Chalfont, one of the board members of Pennsylvania North Soccer.
Lucas Soponiewski, 129 Buttercup Boulevard, Warrington. I'm the president of the club.
Good evening.
Make it spell your last name.
Oh, you did cast that up. OKONIEWSKI. Never been asked that before. Lucas. That's the official name. That's on the license.
Just making sure. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a seat, John.
Yes, go ahead. Have a seat. Sorry.
So we are here with Pennsylvania North Soccer. I'm hopefully familiar that you guys have an idea what we're here for to look at. West Branch Park, where we temporarily we do some fall training there with lights, and so currently we are looking to put a turf field there for Pennsylvania North Soccer to continue to use that from now into the future. Lights, turf for us to use, as well as New Britain Township to use as well. And that is what we are here to propose. We worked with Parks and Rec already, and they pushed it up to us to come back here and talk to you fine folks about the next steps.
Well, I think we have some questions.
Yeah, there's plenty of questions, and we understand this was a on bit of a quote unquote last minute notice. I wasn't there at Park and Rec. You were there, correct?
Yes.
Was there a slideshow presentation?
No, he did give us a packet.
Okay, all right. So
So-
that same packet that we have in our packets. Okay,
Yep.
very good.
So.
And there was a bunch of questions that were asked, because we were there
Got to.
October meeting,
Mhm.
and there was questions asked that was brought to us. Joe Collins, who is one of our board members, going to be here tonight. Got a bunch of questions from Parks and Rec. We responded back prior to that meeting with all the answers at that time, and then we basically went over a couple questions from that, and which led us to here today.
Very good. All right. Well, who would like to start? Raise your hand. Anyone? Oh,
I'll start, I will.
go ahead.
Why
Go
do
left
I
or right
answer?
there.
So I have a little personal experience with this as my son played soccer and 20 years ago, PA Rush was looking for land to purchase to put fields on. Do you currently own any property of your own?
We do not.
We do not, know.
Do
We
not.
rent from the sewer authority in Doylestown.
Okay. And is there an artificial turf field on the sewer?
There's not,
There's not, but you have lights there, correct?
there is no lights there either.
No lights.
No lights, no. The only lit fields that we have are the ones that we rent from Central Bucks School District and the ones that we rent from the township. We rent.
Okay. And you just got permission to put lights up over at West Branch?
We've been using the West Branch for the last 4
years.
4 years, 4 or 5 years with the lights there, and they're the removable lights. We have a truck that delivers the lights, we rent them, and then they get pulled back at the end of November.
We did draft a more formal agreement for the use of those lights that was, that I worked with Mr. West to put that through, and that's been done.
Okay, we had approved that. So you want to have the right of first refusal to use the turf. And you're stating that we could possibly rent this out to. But it seems to me, remembering those soccer days, there isn't much time that soccer teams are not using those fields either for spring travel, fall travel, winter, if they can fit in practices, etc. When would you see time being available for the township to quote unquote rent it out?
Yeah, a lot, we do have, we are typically every year, fall, late August to first week in November typically is where we run to. And then we don't pick up again until early spring. Occasionally we will use fields throughout the winter, occasionally one here, piecemeal there. But typically in the winter and in the summer months, if our fields are used 10% of the time, that's probably about all it's used. So there are also opportunities throughout the weekdays too. We typically don't use fields on Fridays. We have set schedules from the clubs that the associations work with, that set up the games months in advance. So when those schedules come out, we would share with you at that time, say, hey, this is when we need the fields, this is when our practice times are, and you will know months in advance to, if you need to want to rent the field out to lacrosse teams, field hockey teams, other other non-soccer clubs in the area, you will have those dates available to you at that time.
And typically we're 5 o'clock, like school year round, 5 o'clock to 8, 9 o'clock practices, right? So anytime during the day, for example, if there are opportunities for younger kids, preschool, right, those fields will be wide open from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. So that's, obviously open to the township to rent out. And then as Rob said, we don't practice on Fridays. There's no games on Fridays, so most likely Fridays would be wide open. We do provide like a Friday night finishing type of activity for some of our travel teams from I think 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Fridays, but that's only about 1 month in the spring and then 1 month in the fall.
And we also have our other fields still available that we
Yeah.
can use. I mean, it's not going to corroborate that. And again, in the summer,
Will you
like I
use
said,
North Branch?
that will be, yeah.
We use North Branch, West Branch. We rent from Central Park. We rent from school districts, but it's for a nonprofit organization, renting turf fields is $200 an hour on average, right? Right now, we're traveling to New Hope to use their new turf field under the lights, and it's far for some of our members.
Says one of the things I've seen, you were going to put a fence up and keep it locked when it wasn't in use.
We were gonna put a fence up, not locked. I mean, it's obviously all that's in conversation. The fence, there was one fence typically gets put up, just to keep the soccer balls in and things like such as that. More for just safety more than anything. So no one's going up there with dirt bikes and we're tearing it up or anything like that. More than anything, we're gonna invest in the turf. We want to make sure it's sustainable for the time that it needs to be there. Locking it, no, I mean, we have no plans to locking it at all.
Yeah, the turf, the fence, just to give you an idea, it's about a waist
Yeah.
high,
So there'd be no point in locking it, so they can hop over.
It's not going to keep a soccer.
What was that?
It's
Well,
not going to
it's
keep a
probably
soccer
on the
ball.
No. Theory.
In theory.
Players are really good, they don't take it.
Yeah.
And how is this maintained and how do you intend to maintain it if we allow it?
Well, the turf itself it's warranted by the company that installs it, and we have two different companies that we're working with currently. The maintenance on turf, there's really nothing other than if there's a blemish in it, a divot or something like that, and that's all handled by the warranty of the company that we're paying to do it. Turf itself, it rains, it drains, if it snows, it melts. It does, there's no maintenance to the turf whatsoever, other than a defective turf, some piece comes off the thing, and that's covered by the warranty of the company that we're using.
How does it get cleaned?
Doesn't need to be cleaned. A turf it's a plastic material. The water runs right through it and it drains it off. There's no cleaning the turf whatsoever.
And there's trash pickup, obviously, we'll be responsible for making sure that kids pick up their water bottles or their trash, whatever, and we do have a position within the club that looks after our fields, so that would be one of the fields that we look at.
I'm just, what do you know offhand, what percentage of New Britain Township residents are actually members of the club?
We haven't done the dialed down, but I'd say specifically, I've been in with the club and we've worked with the club together 15 years. I mean, I would say at least 60% in this area is with New Britain Township, including myself.
I just have concerns about taking public parkland and dedicating it to one organization's use. Because it's for all residents and not necessarily just for sports use either, so.
Oh, completely understand. And again, I've rock surfing there. I live in Reserve New Britain, which is right up the street. And that the fields typically don't, when I drive by there, they don't get used. They're really used by us most. The walking paths are still going to be there. We're not touching them. The fields below the baseball fields that are below are not going to be touched. There's the only thing that's going to be used, the oak is there, is the turf, which again, if residents want to come play soccer on the turf, if they want to play football on the turf, or if they want to do anything on the turf, they're more than welcome to. We're not locking it up that, lock and key, the fence is there. The only thing we will meet, and I being close by can also watch it, just make sure there's nobody, like I said, dirt bikes or anything like that on there, but typically I never see that now at West Grand. It's pretty maintained pretty well. So it would just be, the only thing that's going to be changed, anything, is the actual grass area of the field. And again, the walking past everything else, which is 99% of the time is used when I always see that. I walk my dog around there all the time. That's not going to be touched.
What's the life expectancy of the field?
10 years is what it is. Yeah. And it's warranted for that as well.
Okay, and what happens in 10 years' time?
We replace
We
them,
replace it.
Brush would pay for the cost of replacing, putting in turf.
Okay, or removing it if they
or
choose,
removing it.
and how, I would want some sort of guarantee.
Mhm.
Some sort of monetary guarantee. Because I understand it can be quite expensive to remove all of that.
I haven't dialed down into it, but I mean, we know for a fact when and if it needs to be replaced, we are going to have substantial money put aside on a weekly, monthly basis, yearly basis to replace, because we know we're going to have to replace it. Turf life expectancy is 10 years. Now it's warranty for that, so if something happens prior to that, it's all handled. But if 10 years and nothing goes wrong with it, we have to replace it.
We're looking for a similar partnership that some of the other townships, like with Maine and HBAA and Darby Mayfield, they have a very similar partnership with some of their local clubs. And again, we're one of the largest soccer clubs here in the area, but we're just struggling for turf, and it's becoming evident where we have families either moving and going away from the area and traveling half an hour, 45 minutes to other locations to play for other clubs. We love to keep those families playing for our local club.
I'm just asking some general questions. I'm not, and I'm gonna cede to other people who may have some questions.
How often have you not been able to play at West Branch Park?
At West Branch, well, anytime it rains.
But is that because all of the fields are closed, or is West Branch Park the problem? I'm trying to get at if our West Branch Park is a well-drained field, why do we need turf there?
Once it rains anywhere, we can't play in fields.
Any fields?
Any fields, period. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not safe, number one, for the kids, playing mud, and it tears up the fields. I mean, a couple of years ago, we did play a lot and, we had some really bad weather and we had to on our complex and the fields were just destroyed. And we literally had to stop playing on them for almost, 4 months to rebuild them. We had to move all over the place. So once it rains and we had some freak snowstorms, I mean, anything like that, especially the rain in the spring, we don't touch them. And then the kids don't play. And then we, not even just travel, we have intramural programs, we have thunder programs, which are for special needs children. We have none of them happen. And they're all, and specifically the travel program which would also be used on West Branch Dirt as well. 99% of them are New Britain, Warrington, but 99% are New Britain Township.
And also the field in its current condition, it's very uneven. There's holes, divots. It's a problem.
So if other fields get put out of service because it's wet, that would mean you'd be using West Branch Park even more and taking up more of the time. And so then eliminating any chance of being able to use the field for anybody else. So that's where, if you're already going to New Hope with artificial turf and you'll now have artificial turf here, to me, you'll be increasing the amount of time and resources you want to spend in New Britain Township. So the capability of being able to use it for other sports or other people, I feel is shrinking, because at the moment, your permit is from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday and Sunday for 8 months of the year. You only do not play on there January, February, December, and September. So you have a permit for all of our fields, all of our soccer fields, that whole time. So now if you do get a turf field, to me, you are now going to use that even more. And so that will just, to me, eliminate any extra availability.
I mean, we are investing the money to build a turf field. So, I mean, we are going to have more usage to it. And that's one of the main things. Our club is growing, New Britain Township, our members are growing in our club. And so we need to accommodate them as well. When it rains, none of the fields get played on. It's just, even if it's pouring rain and we're not going to play on turf. I mean, we're not going to have the kids out there and drenching down storms. We will have specific times when we use the fields. We will have specific, we will set up time with you ahead of time, knowing, hey, this is where XYZ, this is the time we're using the fields. If it rains, it's a tornado, it's a hurricane, or if it's a snowstorm or nothing, this is when we'll use the fields. We will be using the fields more than we would, because again, the investment in it, and we can, that way it can be better for our members, we don't have to send them to New Hope and, in Jersey or wherever to play soccer. They can stay local to this area. But in the grand scheme of things, we will have a schedule that we will, we will have a schedule. You'll see the schedule. We'll be open to it, and we will ahead of time give you the opportunity to reserve space. We'll say, hey, these are the times if you want to reserve it and sell the space to whatever lacrosse team, field hockey team, whoever it may be. We know that the space is uncut. We cannot use the space during that time, no matter if it's a rainstorm or not.
Yeah, we would not use the field outside of our allotted time that we would obviously mutually agree to, right? Just because it's raining and the other fields are canceled, the other practices get canceled.
I had that conversation with Mr. Cullen when he called me about this project, and I advised him that I assumed the board would want to make sure that there was dedicated time to township residents that would not be used by PA Rush, and he didn't resist that.
Yeah, we want to be open, and we want this to be a long-term partnership. We want to be fair to other organizations who are looking to use the field. That's absolutely an open item.
Okay, I've seen the presentation twice, so.
Okay.
Bill?
Well, that was my real question, was I want to make sure that the other township residents and other organizations have a chance to use this field. Not just necessarily one day per week, but hopefully for a couple days at least per week. I know that we have other organizations that would love to have a turf field, at least available to them on some occasions. So that was my biggest concern, is to make sure that the residents have the use of this field when people are not using it.
100%. Yeah, and we wouldn't come here if that wasn't what we were planning to do. We know that's, it's still a township field. We're investing in the turf, and we know it's still a township field, so it still has to be available to the township and other, opportunities for the township to generate revenue from other clubs that may want to rent from here.
May I, Mr. Jones, in furtherance of your point, gentlemen, am I correct that it's PA Rush's intent that if the project goes forward and the field will be built, that the scheduling of use of the field, other than the time set aside for rush, would be done by township personnel and not by PA Rush Club, is that right?
Correct.
So we would be able to coordinate that in-house, Bill,
Okay,
is my understanding.
similar to the way it has been for years. My other question is, and again, this would be when and if there's a contract agreement written up on this. What are the latest, as far as hours for the lights?
We don't go any later than 8 o'clock right now, so I don't see it going any later than that. We don't play on Sunday nights. We don't play during the weekdays. I mean, all the kids are in school, so, you know, we stop at 8 o'clock. So I wouldn't see any later than 8 o'clock. We're at West Branch now. We stop at 8 o'clock, done. So I don't see any reason for it to go any later than that.
My biggest concern.
Steph,
I think you addressed some of this already, but maintenance and what would there be any additional maintenance or different types of maintenance that the township would be required to do on this, given that it's a turf field rather than a
No.
grass field?
No, nothing, there'd be no, the only thing maintenance would be is us making sure that Gatorade bottles are picked up at the end. We see turf fields all the time, we work with turf fields a lot within townships, other, you know, other areas that we know, and there's no maintenance to it. The only thing the township would be responsible for is still cutting the grass outside of the turf, other than that, nothing.
The rest of my questions were already answered by the other people.
Matt, I apologize. Did we receive any kind of a memo from Park and Rec about this?
Very short
It's a
one.
very short one. I mean, is there anything further that,
The 2 emails from this afternoon.
well, yes, I know,
Present,
Sue, yeah, that was it. Okay.
I just wanted to let everybody know also that a copy of their presentation is on the township's website. If anybody wants to see it.
Matt, where is it?
Under information, plans, reports, projects.
Okay,
Now, you say there's no, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
where you going to? You said
I
that
wanted to look back at those emails we got today.
there's no maintenance required, but we've been informed by other people that have been involved with turf that it does require maintenance, requires a special machine to clean it and groom it on a regular basis.
No. Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're,
I have the proposal from from the turf company. There's no maintenance upkeep on that whatsoever. The only time there'll be any maintenance done on the turf field is if, for some reason, a piece of turf comes up or there's a divot, which, you know,
Right.
the Valley Association, 2 years ago, I think, had a divot in the field where the turf, so they had to stop. The turf company came in and actually redid the whole turf. It was an expensive job, but they redid the whole thing and no cost because it was guaranteed. There's no maintenance on turf whatsoever.
okay, well,
Maybe it was a different turf company.
But even if there was maintenance, that would be on them.
well, that's what I want to get
If
to.
there's anything that would be, it would be on us. Any turf, any maintenance with the turf, any blemishes with the turf, anything with that, it would be on us. But from my knowledge and talking to enough turf companies, there's the turf years ago, possibly, but the new age, I mean, everything changes yearly, everything
Right.
develops and progresses from where it is now. There's no issues with turf maintenance whatsoever.
Yeah, I looked at some of the schematics with the drainage underneath, and it seems like quite a construction. Where is that drainage going to go to?
That's drainage is already in place with West Branch. So that drainage already goes to, if you're walking down the pathway of West Branch from the parking lot on the right hand side, there's already basically a basin already set up. I remember, I think it was like maybe 3 years ago. You guys regraded the whole field and set up the drainage 3-4 years ago.
I think that's the rain garden we have in there.
It was, I forget the architect, the company you guys used, we reached out to them and they sent us the drainage specs. But that's already set up there and all that water that's already going down actually just goes into the basin that's already set up to the right hand side.
Okay, I thought I had seen pipes that went underneath and,
Yeah, that's actually from the company that you guys use. They sent it to us.
okay.
That's what
Sure.
makes this field so it's such an attractive project, right? Because the drainage is done, it's in a good spot. There's conduits already laid out for the electricity, like. 30% of the project is already.
Yeah, the master plan for this park already had lights as part of it. They've just never been installed. That's why the conduit's all there. It's all set up for future light placement there as part of the larger
Plan.
plans.
Especially with what you guys have planned across the street when that project gets kicked.
Well, that's a different story. So,
You're there tonight.
Have we had any reports or complaints from residents since they've been using the lights over there at West Branch?
We have not.
Okay.
And I also.
and actually, I think if, as per the lighting engineering that'll be done, it'll probably actually be less less of a light pollution with directed lights as it is to just the standards to get cranked up and
Correct.
blasted
and-
out into the
Yeah, I
atmosphere.
supply our company that we work with, the lighting company that supplied it, that exactly, the lights literally, you're 1 foot off the field and it's dark. Because the way the lights are so directly the pinpoint as opposed to.
Yeah,
even-
That's how it is at Christopher Dock, and they do have timers. So
Yeah,
in question to the lights at Christopher Dock, I think it's at 9 o'clock, whether or not there's somebody still on the field in the middle of an activity, the lights shut off and nobody can turn them back on.
Because they're looking for balls at 9:05.
Yes, so there is ways to do that.
She actually had her warning of either 15-minute or 30-minute warning.
You're saying the light should flash for a couple of seconds?
So we don't want any seizures though. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any
give you
thing
enough
to
time
add,
get to your car.
Mr. Engineer?
The lighting, I would recommend we, review the lighting and work with staff on that. We're doing lighting on several other parks, big parks in other townships, and I can have our lighting consultant look at that just to make sure, what you mentioned, Mr. Hood, and then how many lights you're putting up?
4. And I believe it's in, I think you might have it.
Yeah, it's in the diagram.
Have you had any experience with the turf fields or?
It's sitting on their side. Yes. My son played for a competitor, so, and I understand that's part, to be honest with you, I know a lot more. It's tough to recruit. I mean, it's recruiting. Your township residents will go, or a kid eventually go somewhere else with better amenities.
Yeah.
It happened with another sport that Mr. Hood is aware of. And that's such part of the attraction. I don't know about the maintenance. I've heard newer technology's been a lot better, but that's not my area of expertise. But I've been more worried about the fencing and the lighting and just how it integrates into your park. So I think you should at least have a say in that final product. Maybe you need another light. And that's something to discuss with them. I'm not saying we need one. You're saying 4 for the soccer field?
Yeah, the way it was, and again, it's in this, but we working, what's it, his company's name? Penny Armor and Sons Electric.
Armor and Sons.
Electric.
Yeah, that was the township knows.
So they
They
went
can
there.
look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they went there and did a whole thing, and they said, so based upon the size of the field, the 11v11 field, the 4 lights would be specific to cover the whole field, which you look at many 11v11 fields, which is a full-size soccer field, that's typically what they have 4 setup lights.
As far as the maintenance goes, if the board would like to investigate further, there's quite a few local organizations that have turf fields. Central Bucks West just put in some turf fields right next to the YMCA. They might have some information we can get. There's a private club in Warminster, the Erdscoburg Club, the VE Club has a private turf field there. I'm sure we can investigate that as well if you really want to, but.
well, I mean, it's part of the contract there. You're responsible for.
Correct, 100%.
I mean, there could be a severability clause put in that if they don't maintain the fields and such, that they lose exclusive rights to the field.
My suggestion would be that the lease would read, if the board were so inclined, the lease would read in such a way where if the township, because it would be on township land, so the township would need to make sure that it was maintained to avoid any injury to township residents. I would suggest that the lease should read in such a way where if the township is forced to do maintenance that the club does not do, it then becomes chargeable to the club as a maintenance fee payable to the township, and then we can deal with fallout from that as we need to.
Well, not only that, but I think language in there about they lose exclusive rights if maintenance and
If you say just lose exclusive rights, does that mean we take on the debt and take on the maintenance and take on?
I don't
everything?
know. It's what, you know, we're,
I think we need to look into this
Yeah.
a great deal
Yes.
more. There's a lot of questions there as to
Yeah.
liability and what expense the township might be looking at should certain events occur.
I mean,
things-
it seems that all the questions that Park and Rec answered, and I don't know if you looked at the question and answer.
I'm
part.
looking at, but some of the answers were really not.
Not ideal.
complete,
Yeah, they
yeah.
weren't completely complete,
Um,
but
I
yeah.
think, Sean, that would be a great idea to talk to those other organizations, to see if they're having any issues or would have any advice or obviously Central Bucks. I know they had to replace their football field once because it wasn't put in correctly or something. And
That was the type of turf used. And then iteration.
Everything to be lined just for soccer, so you're not gonna be just thought about CB West and the different sports using it. Field hockey probably, I don't know how much that demand is, but.
Yeah, so it will be lined for soccer, but
Soccer.
with the turf fields, they can be, lines can be painted on any turf field, to the design that what is needed. So, that is something we can obviously talk about. But yeah, they are, just like you can paint on grass, so you can paint on turf.
Okay.
Just use the
Yeah,
machine.
usually yellow is soccer, red is field hockey, green is lacrosse.
yeah, so say lacrosse.
White is football.
You'd be surprised how many different lines you can put in.
Well, I mean, there's a lot more questions, and I mean, I'd like to see, you know, we're gonna open it up to public comment. Don't worry, public. You know, one other thing is I would like to see a version of a actual time, you know, a usage contract that they're requesting, you know, more specifically like days,
Well, that'd be a
months.
calendar from
Yeah,
them. as to what-
calendar,
Yeah,
yes.
well, I think that should come from them, not.
Yeah,
their-
no, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
yes.
The discussion
I'm-
of that
I'm-
already,
yeah.
when Mr. Cullen reached out to me, I had that discussion with him and I understand that the club is working on getting that sort of schedule together for you to review.
No, okay. Is there anything else from staff or our professionals? Before I go to the crowd, is there anybody online?
No,
Wait, do we have no one online or is there no questions online?
we have our finance director on.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. All right, if there is public comment, please raise your hand, and when I point you, go ahead and stand up and give us your name and address. Good.
Terry Dunn, 201 Overlook Drive, Shop Point,
Can you
Pennsylvania.
spell your last name? Just to make sure.
DUNN,
Okay.
Dunn. Chief Clauser would know our house because coming down Cedar Hill Road, cars often go off and motorcycles go off the road there, shear off telephone poles off occasionally. I have no idea what happened, but anyway. We live on that corner property there, and when I first came to the township 700 years ago, 31 years ago, the concept for the park system in our area seemed to be connect them all through safe traverses, connect all the parks in the township and bike paths, that kind of stuff. And our house happened to be on an area, we gave up an easement of our properties to make it a safe travelage from our neighborhood down to the common park of West Branch. And several of the developments above us can get down there too. And it's heavily used. I sit on my porch a lot and there's a large quantity of individuals going down to the park for public use and enjoying it totally. And I do hear the soccer going on Saturdays and Sundays all day. I kind of like this sound of happy children and they're having a good time. As well as the lights that are on, they're not terrible, but it kind of sounds like we're turning it into a business and not much of a township park from the original idea of the whole concept of the area. And I understand the demand and talking about the high school fields and different fields that are out there. There are other opportunities to use fields like that, maybe. I don't know, but I just wanted to have you a little comment on the side of a lot of people that I could bring forward. Would agree with. So. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Do you want to give the counterpoint about the high schools, about how you don't actually have access to the fields out of soccer season?
Yeah.
So that people know that is.
Yeah, so that's the point. So, our access to the high school fields ends when the high school season is done, right? So typically first week of November. After that, we don't have access to the turf again until maybe April, right? And it's being used. Well, they just shut it down. They don't want it out to anybody,
Yeah,
right?
they don't allow, once their season ends.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
a closed field.
It's closed, yeah, they don't use them at all. And then, of course, we're also going up against other organizations who are using lacrosse and field hockey, right? So we're in line to rent out this field as well, so it's not get the turf on like Sundays.
I get it. I'm saying it's.
Hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise that point because having a son that used to play in the Rush system, the high schools are unavailable. They take away usage of the fields, which doesn't seem right. It's a publicly owned property, technically speaking, but the schools just take away the rights to rent the fields. So it is what it is. Go ahead.
No, I'm Janet Dunn, 201 Overlook. But again, it's that particular park. We're on that corner and there's a lot of traffic and a lot of the residents do use it. We see it constantly. Little children, little big wheels, scooters. It's a community facility, not a public enterprise, in my mind. It's too close to the houses. The noise, the lights, it's not like you're in the middle of a field somewhere out there. These houses are real close. And to have that kind of disturbance. In addition, my husband talked about coming down Cedar Hill and not making that corner right by our house. Well, if you have increased usage, and you will, traffic, parking, what do you, we could get a whole lot of residents that wouldn't be too happy about this proposition. Because it quality of life definitely decreases for our neighborhood.
For the township, right?
And for the township. It's not just us.
So, turf fields in the summer, not a lot of fun to be on. They're pretty hot. Pretty fun on it.
Just out of just a curiosity question. Are you guys aware of what we've proposed for Cotton Park across the street? No.
No. I've seen the sign there for less.
Yeah, okay, so the township has kind of directed that whole area to be
The plan is instead of developing that, put a turf field on.
a super sports complex
No,
on both sides of the street down there, so.
it's just as noisy, that factory over there.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let,
Side and parking,
Well-
we have a ton of issues with.
Develop that, that's beautiful. Go.
is there any other questions or comment? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ken Jones, 116 Circle Drive, Cheltenham. I'm the president of the Chamonix Watershed Association. So my concerns are really more about the effect that it might have on the watershed. So this is probably a question for engineering. I went for a walk with Janine, the engineer, the other day to talk about a restoration project that we're doing in West Branch Park, actually towards the Chamonix, the West Branch there. And I wasn't aware until that conversation that the water drains to the Chamonix through piping. So my question is really about the chemistry and the synthetic nature of the field. Are you guys aware of any other projects like this immediately adjacent to the watershed, to a stream?
I don't, but I know we have to do testing. They have to actually do, it's part of the permits that there is water testing, watershed testing prior to anything beginning. So that will be addressed, and the turf company that one of the two turbines I do know that's back there. I also do know the drainage, with turf, there's nothing that comes off the turf. It's not like there's no liquid, there's no foam, there's no, wax or anything on it. It's just pure plastic. So the water specifically would drain just like it does through grass into the filtration system underneath and out, into obviously the creek, into the basin on the side of West Branch Park. But again, there are water treatment permits and all that will be done prior to anything before the first shovel goes in the ground. it's part of the process. I think it's.
I'm aware of what you have.
Yeah, you know, you. Yes, they will definitely be addressed.
Yeah, well, I plan to talk to like county conservation district, I'm sure they will probably have some opinions of this as well. But that's my primary concern was the potential for chemistry going into the creek. Sure.
So,
What runs those lights currently?
What was that?
The portable lights?
Gasoline.
It's gasoline. How many are there?
There's 4 lights, 4 light towers right now.
Or with multiple lights all over.
What kind of wattage do you generate for that?
I don't know. They're like construction lights. They shine everywhere from here to there.
I'm sure they'd be concerned about business there.
But we won't,
So that Eagle used to live up on the cell tower.
but going forward, that
Move
won't
to
be.
Costco.
This will be electric.
The Eagles, it was a beautiful bald eagle.
Yeah, I was at Costco the other day.
He was the blue heron out back. They love that.
so a follow-up to that question about the creek, I just looked at the floodplain. It would be actually in a floodplain for the Neshaminy. Do you know of any other projects that have sat in a floodplain?
Personally, I do not.
No.
Let's
Okay.
look into it.
Okay, all right. Got another one?
Yeah, no, I was looking at the engineering plans, is, to answer Ken's thing from the presentation, it's showing there's some kind of collector for the rubber. Is that what
There
I'm
is?
seeing?
But then how would you clean it out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of,
Chemicals.
yeah.
Yeah,
It-
so, because it does have little rubber
Yeah, it has
pellets
a
that
little,
sit in
oh
it.
yeah, those pellets
So-
are annoying.
And that's old tires, which we have just tried
Yeah,
to get rid of from another project. We found that to be very hard to get rid of. old rubber
YMS
tires.
has turf fields, do they not? And they're right next to a watershed,
the water.
like
Right
a
next to the
very
water,
large
yeah.
watershed.
Yeah.
So you might want to contact them for any of that information. They're down on the river,
Right.
Where?
Yardley,
Yardley,
Makefield.
I didn't hear
Makefield.
the first part. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe.
Yardley, Makefield. They have like 2 turf fields down there.
Too, and you could throw a rock to the river, Delaware River.
Yeah. So they must have some sort of way.
There's
to-
another on the Schuylkill, there's a school in. Not Roxborough, Manioc area, it's right by a train station, it's right by the Schuylkill River. Like, we could look for that.
Yeah, I think Germantown Academy has 2 turf fields right near whatever branch of the Chamonix, I think that is down there as well.
Well, because then does the drainage of that field, regardless if it's turf, is that part of our MS4 plans where we have to decrease sediment going to the
Fields?
from that
a turf
area?
Field, it's
From
not,
not just a turf field, but from that field, from that park, because
That
it
will
drains
impact
into the,
MS4. That will not impact your MS4.
Okay.
It's not impervious. I thought you were gonna ask me. If it's
no, because
Somebody
it's,
was gonna ask me.
no, we know it
is that
drains.
impervious, Greg?
Some townships look at it.
Question, Stephen? You
Oh.
pointed to somebody.
Margaret had her hand
Oh,
up.
Okay, Margaret,
I've got 3 buckets.
up dead, make it official.
Name and
Mary
address.
Margaret Briggs, Britton Township. Like Ken, I do have concerns about the impact on the environment. I'd like to see more study. I'd like to see a study that it's not gonna impact the Neshaminy and the wildlife in the area. The next bucket is the community. I think you need to have a bit more public notice than an agenda item so that the broad community knows that this is being discussed. And it's lease of public property that's owned by the taxpayers in the entire township. Just to clarify, and I don't know if your position has changed, but the right of first use would be limited to PA Rush soccer. The other use for other township residents would be other sports, field hockey, lacrosse. Okay. Has that changed?
She's saying no soccer. You were saying that you were not allowed.
No,
Soccer
no
clubs
other soccer
use it.
Correct.
And then finally, financial, as you said, you acknowledge 30% of the infrastructure has already been done and paid for by New Britain Township taxpayers. So what's the return on investment for New Britain Township taxpayers? That is the least are we going to have some income,
Oh, yeah.
decent income from this? Because we've already done all the infrastructure
Yeah,
that you need. And I'd like to see some kind of a formal cost comparison between the savings that we would see, you say we would see in the, not having to maintain a natural turf field. Because I think there might be some other information as to the cost of actually maintaining. Of course, if you're gonna maintain it, then it's kind of moot, but I'd like to know what we would be saving on having to maintain.
Any other public comment? Good.
Michelle Lockett, 37 Hickory Lane in Chalmont. So I live in the neighborhood kind of back by West Branch, but I have two boys in the Rough organization. I have a 7-year-old and I have a 14-year-old. And we've done a lot of talking about it, and my 14-year-old is so excited, and he's really hoping for this opportunity for the fields to be in our township, to be in our community. Like they said earlier, soccer can be everywhere. You can go to UPs and you can have a turf field. You can go to YMS, which is a far drive. We don't have those opportunities here. So right now we're traveling to New Hope for turf fields for the community. On Saturdays when they had the younger kids playing there had to be, I don't know, 40, 50 kids that weren't travel kids that were there. There was no travel impacted. People were still walking the track. There were people on the playground, bikes riding. So it's just an awesome thing for the community, for the kids that live here, to be able to play close to home with the kids in their community, in their schools, and to be around. It also just gives them that one up. They're gonna get better and better by playing on these fields, and then hopefully there's scholarship money and there's other opportunities and doors open for the boys and the girls. I have boys, that's why I say boys. I have 3 boys, but there's a lot of opportunities that can come for them. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I really hope you consider it for the kids that live here in this community that are gonna continue to grow up here.
Thank you.
I've got one more question.
Go ahead.
Craig, can you remind me, what were the fields planned for across the way, and were they going to be grass or artificial turf?
They're all grass.
They're all grass.
The focus was baseball.
2 baseball, 1 multi-use, all lighted.
Plenty
Yep.
of open area, but there's no proposed turf field.
Okay, so is there any way that we could not upgrade till professional level, but is there any way that we could spend some more resources and improve the grass field that's already there?
So from personal experience, they already tried to do that and it didn't work.
In what way?
They actually shut the field down for over a year, regraded it, reseeded it, and it's still basically a field where you're just pushing your luck. I hated playing on that field.
What do you
It was
mean pushing
hard.
your luck?
You're,
Twisted ankles, twisted
you're
knees.
at the mercy of the weather and.
Yeah,
That's always been.
it's a brutal field. It is.
So does that mean there's something wrong with it underneath?
It's just.
Uh-oh.
You keep saying it's,
Your sense near a floodplain.
but it's you're saying
Or
divots
all
and things. So is that because that the thing just keeps settling? I mean, that
It's
was
just
my-
the usage.
Drainage.
It's usage,
Well, you guys
drainage.
probably really use that a lot, everyone. Not just- And then, when it's wet, you shouldn't be on it. It's a grass field.
That field of where proposed Cotton Park,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's higher, that's a lot higher up.
Yeah, it is higher.
Well, it hasn't been, and
And
there-
probably
there's-
not within the next 10 years.
there's
It's
proposals, but that doesn't mean that what was proposed or thought
gonna
of
happen, right?
15, 20 years ago is going to happen. Because I think we should have some recreational facilities in this township for the adults that live here also. I'd like to see tennis courts, pickleball courts, other things like that. I mean, there are a lot of adults, not just children, that live in this township.
Now
so-
you want to put up impervious surface. Jeez. No.
You want proposed nature facilities. Already something there, actually. It was already done for a grass field that drains a little bit different.
I think we need some engineering.
Yeah,
advice and-
I'm not gonna make a decision tonight.
With the turf company, they will be looking at the drainage system to see if it needs to be upgraded. If anything needs to be upgraded up and above what's there, we handle that. We will.
Is that on your plans that you have? I haven't seen it.
No,
it's very high level.
It's very high level. Yeah, there's a lot of engineering that needs, questions that need to be answered. Bill and Steph, how are you guys doing down there?
I don't have any other additional questions. I mean, I think it's
Yeah, I want
something that we
to see
need
the
to.
additional information come back and then we can go from there, I think.
What if there's a adult soccer league formed in the township? Would they be allowed to use the field?
We actually have an adult league right now. We have 20 teams, and yes, they would be using that field as well.
The majority of our New Britain residents.
Yeah, right now we're playing at the Rush Complex.
Betsy doesn't count.
You leave Betsy out of it.
Well, Betsy's there often with the young.
I know,
With the little ones.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing my luck with the adult league. I've been playing it for 15 years, but we do have players who are 60 years old and above playing in the league still. So, but it's hard to keep up with those 20-year-old kids that come back and want to play in the adult league. So.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've got lots of people who want to play on this field. So every time you say, oh, we've got more people who'd like to play on this field.
It would still be limited to the time.
Yeah, it'd still be limited.
That's why I'd like to see a sample,
Yeah,
Schedule.
facility schedule.
yeah.
I mean, again, we're gonna follow a schedule, so this is, we will lay it out. And then everything's up to negotiation, obviously, but we will lay it out, and again, we're not affecting the paths that are already there. We're
I
not
get that. It's just the field, but
Oh,
it's literally just,
Yeah, and we won't put I mean, obviously, we're gonna continue to rent from Central Box, we're gonna continue to rent from the Central Park, right, and use those fields as whenever possible, and use the other turf fields and continue running it, so it's not like we're putting everybody there, but no, children is the focus, with adults playing at 8 AM, for example, you know. They like to wake up early.
All right, so do we have a list, Sean, of
I've
answers?
already had a list before you guys started talking about it.
And have we actually added anything to your list?
There have been a couple of ideas. I think one of the things that might need some clarification based on Cynthia's comment is, gentlemen, you use West Branch Park now, correct?
That's right.
Would your usage of West Branch Park increase if and when a turf field is installed, or would you use it as much as you do now?
We would definitely use as much as we do now. I would say it would increase a little bit. I'm not gonna say it's not, because the investment that we obviously want to put, we want to use as, you know, to the capability that we can.
Mhm.
But it would increase, but it would still be more than enough time for the township to rent it out, to obviously generate revenue from other field hockey, lacrosse, whatever club, you know, non-soccer clubs out there that want to use it. And again, turf fields attract everyone. So you will have the field hockey across the area, you know, will knock on your door. Lacrosse around the area will knock on your door looking for it. So once it's available, they will generate revenue that's not being generated now from the use of the field, because we're the only ones that use it. And that's something, but we will increase, but there will obviously be tons of opportunities still for New Britain Town.
And Mr. Chair, my list already includes indemnification issues that have been brought up today, utility issues that have been brought up today. Obviously, there wouldn't be, somebody mentioned a question about the gasoline usage. These would be hardwired lights. It's my understanding that, and obviously Rush would be responsible for the utility bills for those lights in the conversations I've had with them. And then if the township were to rent out the field at times when Rush wasn't using it, we'd have to work out how those utilities would be paid by the people renting it. But we have already identified all of those issues, and we're ready to work toward those if the board decides that this should go forward.
Are we really looking to create a new department of coordinating rentals of this field at various times? It's gonna take
Already
staff
there.
time.
It's already there.
They're there and available to be rented now.
And in fact, it's empty a lot of the time because nobody wants to use it.
What we identified it that way because and pardon me for assuming, but I assume that the five of you would not want to delegate that responsibility to an outside organization.
No.
So that's why we identified that early and make sure that we were all in agreement as to how that would work.
This would get back to user fees as well. You know, we talked about how much we charge per user fee. Looking
We
to,
had a conversation about that
yeah,
way back about, I would like to know the percentage of people using your organization, using the fields, who are New Britain Township residents versus others.
I thought as part of our twice a year schedule, don't you have to put forward the rosters of your members and where they're
Yeah,
from?
the zip codes of everybody, because there's a certain fee that we pay for.
But the zip code doesn't break down.
Yeah, zip code doesn't really tell us.
Yeah.
We've got 4 post offices in this township, Chalfont, New Britain,
Well, and 18914 is part of Warrington.
Fountainville,
and-
Park, Percy, and Warrington. I'm sorry, it's even more than that,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, Line Lexington.
One,
Well, Line Lexington has their own post office.
yes, that's true, but there, yes.
Yeah, we can generate that. That's not a problem.
So I don't think we're saying yes. I don't think we're saying no. I just think we're saying we need a lot more information.
A lot more information.
So I guess I have, from a community standpoint, how do we stay engaged in this process? Like, I don't think a lot of our residents in our development even know, to be honest. So,
Well, you can
that
alert-
was something that you mentioned that.
You
you
can
know,
alert
dark
them
at
to that
night,
fact.
Something like this happened
Yeah.
and
Well, just so you know, and to correct Margaret, there have already been 2 public meetings where this was discussed. So this isn't like this is just coming out into the light right now. It has been previously discussed in front of our Park and Rec board. In front of what, 7 to 10
Okay, so
people.
how then do we stay engaged?
I guess if you give your
Do we go to
information to,
meetings? Do we, what do
Yes.
we?
yeah,
There'll be other, you have to look at the,
you have to keep an eye on the agendas.
on the agendas, or we can,
Well, our next meeting will be in December. so-
December, well,
yeah, I don't think
12th,
we're
once we
doing,
approve it.
I don't know that we're doing anything in December on this.
And we don't have a newsletter for a while.
I won't be for a while.
Facebook page.
Facebook page, right?
It's on there.
I was gonna say, you can always, on our site, under township departments, you can find staff contact information. And always send an email to staff. Staff will always be helpful to say what's on an upcoming agenda, what's gonna be talked about. So you can always shoot staff an email and we'd be happy to give you an answer.
And Mr. Chair, I assume based on your comments and the board's comments, that the board would like township staff, including the engineer and the solicitor's office, to continue discussing this matter with PA Rush and developing some answers to some of these questions that you brought up and drilling down on some of these things.
Mm,
I'd like to see more information.
Yes.
I don't want to say no uninformed.
I
don't
don't
wanna
wanna
say
say
yes
uninformed.
uninformed.
I don't also wanna spend a whole lot of money involving professional staff. In an excessive amount of time, because this is falling on the taxpayers and, but we do need more information. I think there are questions we could put and require the soon-to-be applicant to provide that information, but we could certainly do our own little background investigations too.
Yeah, whatever questions you want to send to Joe, and we will get on them right away and get answers to you before the next meeting. As much as possible, so you have plenty of time to review before the next meeting if we're able to attend that.
Do we, I mean, we only have 1 meeting left this year.
Do you have to rip up the grass? I'm assuming there's earth disturbance as part of putting
Yeah, the grass will come out and they'll, yeah.
Okay, so.
Now you get into
You
topsoil
need-
permitting.
You need earth disturbance permit, you need a range permit, and there's escrow attached to that, so to me, the time is for them to submit. And start those applications. Maybe not right this second, but that's where the reimbursement, this is more than I spend on
Yeah,
a 3-lot subdivision, so. If you want lighting, landscaping, or not landscaping, the storm drainage, look at the other issues that the residents brought up.
I don't want you to necessarily do all that. I
You
want
would ask us to do a review.
them to,
No, I'm saying they
Yeah.
can design it, but they're gonna eventually submit those plans showing where they're gonna disturb it. They need probably a county conservation district
Mhm.
approval. You
So
can't
they-
just go and just, strip the grass, they're disturbing
Right.
for the county and your regulations,
So
so.
they
They'll need
have to-
proper permits down the road.
Correct.
I'm sure they know that.
Yeah.
And you're talking about escrow agreement for engineering and legal.
Well, you post one now and they work with us. I mean, that's their risk. I mean, it's.
so are there questions that can be answered for the board that don't require us to go too far down that kind of a rabbit hole?
Because I think following that, we have to decide, do we want to go even to the point of saying we want to lease out township land to a third party, period? That I mean, that is the first question we have to ask ourselves before we start going down any other who, where, why. Do we think this is a worthy project? That is a completely different question to me than, are we willing to go this way? Are we willing to set ourselves up to do a lease with a third party and not give away, but give part of that ownership of land to someone else? That is the higher level question before we even get into the nitty gritty. And I don't think anybody has truly thought or asked those kinds of questions. How would we go into that kind of agreement? So that's my 2 cents.
You're saying, you keep saying lease, and I. Okay,
That's what they're asking to do, is lease.
so they'll be paying you to lease, to have that land.
I don't think there's any lease payments coming.
Well, then
Yeah.
I haven't heard it.
they're just running your facility.
Well, you can lease for
They're-
$1 a
That's
year.
fine, it's still monetary, but you know,
Yeah.
using your fields to get a permit and putting restrictions on that. Unless there's lease, and that's.
It's, I've seen it done, multiple ways. Greg's right, but it can be done as what's called a ground lease, where especially considering the consideration we put forth by the club in improving the surface and the area. You can consider that part of the consideration for the agreement. You can call it a lease. You can do it a number of ways. What we're calling it isn't as important, and to your point, Mr. Chair, if you want to control, you asked about going down the rabbit hole. If you want to control the costs for that, I mean, what you could do is detail the questions that you have to be asked by township staff and minimize interaction with my office and the engineer's office at this point, until you guys get the answers that you're satisfied with, before we're detailed to actually get too involved in that and actually start running up any bills.
Well, I don't.
Well, the question is, are they, with the information you've gotten tonight for the questions, can you forward that information to them, and then it's up to them to show us the documentation and the like to
Certainly
support
do
that? And
Right.
that way.
Staff
we'll
could do
have-
that too, rather than putting that on our legal team, because we're not to a contract or a lease yet. We just have questions. So I think that would more properly be. Staff can interact with consulting with legal, but I don't know that we need to. Run up the township's legal bills to consider this, because normally when someone comes in with a proposal. They sign an agreement and they put up an escrow, and any legal or engineering fees that are charged for that project are paid by the applicant, not the township. So the question is how we're going to proceed with this, and I think we still need to figure that out.
I think you need time, girl. I haven't reviewed anything. I mean, it seems like Sean's a little bit more involved. I don't think you need us to do a lot. Maybe Sean's a little bit involved, but I'm not reviewing. If I'm reviewing plans and working with them on the drainage, the fencing and all that stuff, you're committed. And I think that's maybe where you guys are going. I wouldn't do that yet until you're committed to go forward with it. The details are the details. If I say, I recommend another light because X, Y, and Z, like, okay, good point. They'll change the plans. If I say, hey, you gotta rework the drainage, or you need this permit from the county, they're gonna be required to do it, but we're past the decision of.
This is whether we're going to do it.
At least based on my sense of the board's discussion right now, you're on the fence. You say yes or no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have them spend all this, they need to answer some of your questions, but more the engineering, more the agreements and how, what mechanism you know, what if they damage the drainage out there? You know, like, I want something in writing, like any other applicant, that they will repair it, there's escrow. You know, there's a lot of what if scenarios. We'll look into the contaminants and other issues that brought up with drainage once we get past the, yes, we're going to. Because there'll be solutions to that I'll
Yeah.
guide them on, but that's later. So,
Yeah. The philosophical questions, the first question we need to ask ourselves before we get past into the, how do we set this up? What happens? All those ifs, ands, and whats. That
Right.
philosophical question has to come first.
I totally agree. My recommendation is for them to gather as much information as they can that's quickly available. Some of it's easy, some of it, maybe they spend a little bit of time, educate you at a following meeting. Then, you know, maybe a little couple questions through the solicitor's office at this point. But outside of any formal reviews or any real prepare anything, we wouldn't do that yet.
Who would do something similar to what Park and Rec did? Shoot them off questions, have them answer them, return them to us.
Yeah, you could
You
do
could do
that.
that.
I don't think you'd work even that, probably through Sean.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Fine, look around the water bottle.
Yeah,
Okay, so what is, to the point of our resident who would like to stay involved, and how do we want to prepare some of our residents who may not have known that this was going to be on tonight and still want to be involved?
well,
What
then
is, what is
I
our
would say
following
that
things?
that resident needs to contact the staff, give them their name and information to be, notified. We don't have notification
No,
guidelines for this.
So, but that's those people who are here. I'm asking, what are we
So
gonna
then
do? So
the
what's our,
typical, so what we've always done
Yeah.
is they let the township staff know that they would like to be kept involved.
not just here, I'm saying, what is our thing? Are we going to have the questions? And
I've
have another-
answered your question
Oh.
twice.
You two
You're
different things here.
talking about the one different thing. I'm saying in general, we've had this presentation. We're going to get some questions asked. What is our next step? Are we going to have another
Once
conversation?
the
2
questions
months?
have gone back and forth, yes, then we decide from there to either have them back or not.
So are
That's
you
kind of how
expecting
we've
in 2
established
weeks?
it.
No.
Or 3 weeks, or are
No.
you thinking in January? we're
I
going to do
hadn't
that?
gotten to that point yet.
Depends
That's
how
why I said,
quickly
I
we
think
get
you
them
mentioned December,
questions.
Yeah, we need to
Depends
check,
how
you're like, we
quickly
need to see
get
how
the
long all this
questions,
takes.
answers. I mean,
Yeah,
It's gonna
we can
take,
set it
For
for,
increased resident input here, to come to the next meeting? then?
the next meeting that they would be scheduled to be at.
as a discussion issue.
Yeah,
And this will be discussed in public because it's not a executive session issue. So,
I would just say it's good practice, now that you know that this is out there. It's good on a 2-week cycle. We meet just about every 2 weeks. Put it on your radar, go to the website, check the agenda. If you see it on the agenda, we're gonna talk about it, right? If you have any questions, contact me, contact Mike, we'll fill you in. It's just a good idea to, now that this is public,
Hmm.
if it's on an agenda, it's on an agenda, it's gonna be on our website. You'll see a link on it, through Facebook, so stay involved.
Every
Got
meeting will get posted beforehand on the homepage of the website with we put the agenda, a link to the agenda, a link to a Zoom meeting link. All that stuff goes on our website. Before any public meeting, Park and Rec, PC, all of them, so you'd be able to have access to it. You have access that way, and like I said, there's contact information for staff on the website
Right,
as well.
that's what happened for tonight. Our next door neighbor who was not able to come tonight, checked out the website, saw the agenda and so forth. I'm just saying all this background stuff is gonna be going on. So at what point do the residents get to continue to,
Yeah, when it's on a public
So,
agenda.
problem.
We're required to talk about this in public, so
Right.
that's the only place we're gonna talk about it.
And
So-
everything else, anything that comes back, any Q and A that comes back that we're gonna talk about at our public agenda will be on our website. As Matt said, it's already on there. The Park and Rec Q and As included in that, their lighting plans included in that, pictures are included in that. The questions that Park and Rec forwarded to them are on there. So all that stuff, their proposal they brought in is on the site for you to review. Okay. So all that stuff is out there on our website.
just a comment, one of the answers you came back, talked about the township selling West Branch Park.
We can't do that.
I don't think that's ever gonna happen. So.
Well,
you'll
the issue
never-
is we can't sell.
Yeah,
We have to offer it to auction to the highest bidder. We can't sell it, so we have no right to give anything,
well, they're
any
saying.
property rights away.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
So
it's
I,
a moot point.
Yeah. I just saw that.
Yeah, that was funny. Is there any other statements or comments or questions or anything from the board?
At this point,
All right, so expect to hear from our attorney.
So you-
Wait, are you-
Just so I'm clear,
No,
just so I'm clear, hold on, wait, no, this is important.
Yeah,
You left me with the distinct impression you didn't want me to spend any money.
no, you're sending them the questions.
No, Matt is.
Or Matt is, sorry, you'll hear from our manager.
The last thing I want is a question on
Yeah.
a bill that you told me to send you.
It doesn't sound as good to say you'll hear from our manager.
Okay. Fair enough.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
so you will forward to him the questions you came up with.
I
to
will
him.
I will
To him.
discuss with
Okay,
him
good.
and tell him the issues that I previously identified so that he can formulate the board's question.
So
Thank
is
you.
it safe to say you're not gonna be prepared to be at the December 12th meeting?
It depends on the questions.
Okay.
We, you're gonna send them out to us, obviously holiday or whatever, sometime this week. We review them and get quick answers
There is no
back.
expectation.
We can take them,
It could take them 6
back
weeks.
to you.
Be realistic about time.
Yeah, yeah.
Take 6 weeks to get. the
My office will get it back to you.
Yeah.
back to you
Well,
December
they will.
12th. Once I see the exact question, I'm gonna give you school information pretty quickly. We'll let you know in a couple days.
I'm gonna ask them. I have one question for you while you're here. What is the company you're using to do the turf?
I have two companies. One is Shaw Sports Turf, and then the other one is Keystone Athletics. They're basically the same, obviously the same proposals. And then I looked at the fields of who they've done recently and deciding which way to go based upon what is out there.
I think that would be some information that would be needed to be sent back to us.
One of you write that down.
He types faster.
He types faster. All right, very good. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Sparks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, as long as my iPad doesn't talk to me.
Thank you for coming.
That's the issue we can take on.
Yeah, if you.
There's something interesting coming up, I don't wanna.
They're still paying.
We have bills to pay. There's a typo in the bills. You want to hear the typo?
Thank you.
Don't mind that.
When he started with the comment, the chief knows my property well, I was like, oh my gosh.
Go up there all the time. The best is the telephone pole, cut right in half. And the card's gone, just kept going.
It kept going after it took down the telephone pole?
All right, at this time, we're going to move on to our action items. These are all motions that I'll be looking for a first and a second and then an approval on. And I just need to switch apps. Come on. All right, first motion this evening. I'm looking for a motion from the board to approve the minutes of the October 17th, 2022 business meeting and the November 7th, 2022 business meeting of the New Britain Township Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, we're moving on to motion B. There is a typo in this motion. The correct amount will be as I read it as follows. I'll be looking for a motion from the board to approve the schedule of bills dated November 10th, 2022 in the amount of
1 million.
1 million. It's still hard to say that. $1,122,342.88 and to authorize the township manager to pay all bills per the attachment.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those are there any questions about the bills list? Sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, at this time, I'll be looking for a motion from the board to approve all items on the consent agenda dated November 21st, 2022 per the attachment.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any comments or questions in regards to the consent agenda?
I do have a question on the Coleman Hay Farms. What are they looking to do?
This is to execute a professional service agreement for the stormwater site plan. That was an issue that was identified during the sale of the property. In order to bring the property up to compliance, they need to address stormwater management concerns.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions? Sensing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carried. All right, motion E, I'm looking for a motion from the board to approve the advertising of a Board of Supervisors meeting for December.
Skip date.
We skipped it.
Where did it? Okay,
Motion to approve council.
sorry, don't ask me, this thing was talking to me an hour ago. I'll be looking for a motion from the board to approve canceling the December 5th, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, now motion E. We're looking for a motion from the board to approve the advertising of a Board of Supervisors business meeting for December 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion F. I'll be looking for a motion from the board to award the Coleman property demolition bid per the attachments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Matthew,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the bid for the Coleman property demolition closed last Monday. And we're pleased to announce that we received one bid. And it was the base bid was for the stone house structure, and then the alternate was for the detached two-car garage. Staff's recommendation is for the board to consider approving the base bid and not approving the bid to demo the detached garage. The house is well beyond gone. There's nothing worthwhile to save on that one. But we do believe that the detached two-car garage does have potential to be something in the near future.
When would be the expected time of starting and completion?
That's a good question for which I
Tomorrow?
don't know how
Just
quickly
asking.
they're able to mobilize.
Okay,
But once this contract hopefully is awarded this evening, I can get that answer. We'll make a contact with Gepper Brothers and
Has some-
I can add, the contract states that the demolition must be completed by March 30th.
so the demo.
The notice to proceed will come once the board awards it. We will set a date for start at that point,
Mhm.
and then Deborah Bros, or when we award it, will have the ability to start once they receive that notice.
okay, cool.
every time.
I do have
Grass
a,
gets
I have a
planted.
question. I mean,
Good.
I'm happy that we're moving forward with this. Didn't we have bids like a year ago for doing this? From two others?
We had three unofficial or three verbal quotes or
Okay, but I mean,
non-bid quotes.
what were
And
they?
they
Remember?
exceeded
They
the
see the
base,
bid in that.
they exceeded the base bid amount required for a public bid. It was circulated to all of them who gave us those bids, and this was, we only received one.
Okay,
This is actually, I think, less than.
Like $17,000 or more cheaper than.
yeah, that's what I thought. I thought
The,
they
the
were
one
worse.
was like 57, wasn't it? The verbal,
Can't remember.
No, they were all in the 20.
maybe it was combined with the other building too then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The single house was about $13,000 to $15,000 more than the quotes,
Oh, okay.
so.
Which, and the quotes did not include asbestos removal and those things either, and this one does.
Gotcha. All right, perfect.
Not just removal, but
Yes,
remediation,
thank you.
containment, disposal.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure the public knows we're doing it right.
You're such a good lawyer. All those in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carried. All right, at this time I'll be looking, motion G, I'll be looking for a motion from the board to approve resolution 2022-25, 55 Curly Mill Road, preliminary final approval for the attachments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who wants this one?
Oh, I'll just turn it over to the solicitor since he does such a better job.
In your packet, you'll find the resolution for preliminary final approval for 55 Curly Mill Road. Mr. Savarese is here with his client. Mr. Savarese, do you have anything you wish to add?
I have, Mr. Grasham, I reviewed the resolution. It was prepared collaboratively by the administration, council, and Gilmore, and Mr. Mortimer is accepting of this.
The revolution, revolution. The resolution, no, I misspoke. The resolution was reviewed by the township engineer. It is in conformance with the recommendations of the planning commission, and we have no objection to its passage.
Very good. Does the board have any other comments or questions?
Do you have any opinion on the turf field?
Oh, my goodness. All right. Talk about a revolution. All those in favor of passing the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, where am I? Motion H. At this time, I'm looking for a motion from the board to approve resolution 2022-26. PennDOT traffic signal maintenance agreement signature authorization. Thanks for a tongue twister. Per the attachments.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. West, you get this one since you can say all your words correctly.
All right. So this was something that PennDOT has been working on past year or so, and they're asking municipalities to sign a more expansive blanket agreement that covers all of your traffic signals within a municipality. This is something that we had received early last year, and through working with the township engineer, we were just waiting on it a little bit. It was a newer concept. And for the lack of me butchering it any further, I'm just gonna turn it over to the township engineer, Craig. And he's gonna walk you through here to show you why he's recommending that we move forward with it now.
Do we have a choice with
Do
that?
we even have to listen to it? We don't have a choice. We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
The reason why it becomes important is because you have to sign the agreement in order to qualify for financial assistance out of the motor licensing fund. So if you don't sign the agreement, you can't apply for that financial
Like I
assistance.
said, do we? have
Okay, we had a
choice?
motion and a second.
Yeah, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Well, you know, we have these pre-meeting coordination meetings where we say, okay, you introduce it and turn it over to
I
me.
know, I didn't-
And then they throw me under the bus when I.
He didn't speak up. I said I was gonna handle, I would.
My goodness.
You write Richard Grants, you need to sign it.
Motion aye. I'm
It's
looking for a
already-
motion from the board to approve the hiring of Zane Snyder of the Public Works Department as labor operator, truck driver, welder, technician, no, effective November 22nd, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
No,
I have a first and a second.
Yep.
Do we need, all those in favor, just signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Welcome to the family.
Motion J. Oh, why is my name in this? I'm looking for a motion for the board to accept the PCCD subgrant award number 2021-BW-01-37745 and authorize the board chair, Gregory Z. Hood, to sign the PCCD grant award notice per the attachments.
Because, Mr. Chairman, you wanted to be chairman.
Fine.
make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Chief,
We're chief.
No, we're accepting the grant that we already approved him to apply for.
So don't we want to hear you tell us
All
about
right,
anything
fine.
that is public?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your signature will be needed on the document in order for us to officially accept the grant from PCCD. It's a $26,500 grant for body worn camera policy and implementation. This is a matching grant, so the township will have to also supply $26,500 for the body worn cameras.
We already approved it. What are you looking at me for?
And as I mentioned earlier, in order to accept the grant, your signature is needed on the award notification.
You'll sign it right after this meeting.
No, we need it all.
Thank you for your work on this.
yeah.
At least you don't have to chase me down for this one.
No, I got it right.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, and that concludes the motions for this evening. We are now moving on to information items. Township manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 2023 preliminary budget has been advertised and is available for inspection by the public at the township building as well as via the township's website. No changes are being proposed to the final budget at this time which will be presented at the newly scheduled December 12th Board of Supervisors meeting. SEPTA has notified the township that they will be starting a renewal project of the Butler Avenue grade crossing. While it is not in the township, it will affect township residents. It will result in the road being closed from 9 a.m. on Friday, December 2nd through 6 p.m. on Monday, December 5th. So please we're going to put that on our website and social media just to make residents aware. I would just avoid that location.
Don't try to go
Next weekend. It'll be a mess. I am happy to announce that our playground equipment for North Branch Park was picked up at the manufacturer a day before it was scheduled and is on the freight carrier and is projected to be delivered to the township on Monday.
Yay.
With the caveat being that it doesn't get stuck in any of the lake effect snow since it's coming from the Michigan area. So we are still on track for a pre-Christmas install at North Branch Park.
It's made, it's actually physically
On a
on a
Yes.
truck to
on
us.
its way.
This is amazing. This is wonderful.
The last thing I wanted to bring up, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bring it up, we'll see where it goes. Assistant Manager Mike Walsh sent an email to the board a few weeks ago with an update to the ad hoc 300 committee.
Yes, this is what I told you that we needed to talk about during
Yes.
this time
And
period.
So I've asked Mr. Walsh to provide, if he'd be willing to provide any additional updates in support of that email that he sent to the board. And just get a status update on where we are and where the board would like to, what direction the board would like to move forward with. Mr. Walsh.
So, thank you very much. Based on my last email and some follow-ups by Supervisor McCabe, I have reached back out to all the applicants just to verify their status for the July 4th parade. I will have an update for the board this week with that. I'll send another memo with a little update. So far I've heard back from 4 of the 7. With one person saying they would be interested if they were appointed to the float position, but the 3 other respondents so far have said they aren't around July 4th, so they don't want to be responsible for it. So I will continue to wait to see what updates I get. And then, as Matt said, the next question I have is what direction the board wants to go as far as appointing this committee. And do they want something similar to our current appointments process? Kind of roll it into one, or something individualized?
What do you mean by individualized, and what do you mean by roll it into one?
So we annually do an appointments resolution. We can certainly roll in, as we did previously with the park and rec interviews, we can schedule to have those individuals come before the board to meet, and then the board can set up the committee. We can do that via that resolution as a way to put it all in one, or we can handle that committee separately.
We can handle that separately. I think we need to get that committee together yesterday, and I don't want to wait to I think we know most of the characters that are applying to be on the committee. I don't think we need to interview them.
So my take
Just
is
my
that
opinion.
there seems to be fewer people that are interested than we originally envisioned the committee being. And so, as we were talking administratively, would there be interest if we just appoint everybody who is interested to that committee and then have them come up and self-govern themselves instead of trying to create 3 committees and just get it moving?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think perhaps it could be supplemented by some volunteer supervisors.
Are you volunteering?
Someone's got to do it.
I assumed I had already been volunteered, so I didn't think I had a choice.
Okay.
I was just waiting for.
It seems like a lot of people want to be on the commemorative and the
Fall festival, 3 for Fall festival.
but the parade float seems to have
Zero interest.
running for cover. Is there such a thing as an organization that does or plans parade floats, and we could have Public Works build it? I know that certain organizations put on a parade float every year. It's really not that tough.
Would our hopefully newly found
Well, yeah, that's the
Event-
person we need to sick on
social
this.
events person, I mean, we could start this and then maybe that person would have more ideas about how to get more people involved. Maybe they could find a float.
Yeah,
group.
I think, without getting too far into the weeds, I think the board should consider give us guidance that, yes, we want to move forward with appointing all of those people, and then put it on the committee. Put it on the committee to say, look, the board has already said you want these 3 things. Now it's the committee's responsibility to do those 3 things.
Yeah.
Which could also include
Girl
recruiting
Scouts.
additional volunteers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Involving community groups.
Right.
It's a little late now, but getting a school contest to design the float or the theme or, something like that, but it might not be too late. Who
So-
knows? Yes, the answer is yes, Matt.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Do we still want to float?
Right, that's the other.
That's the big question. Nobody wants to do it. Do we want to dump it on staff to build it? If it, like,
Let's leave that up. Let's let the committee discuss it and see if there's a way to make it happen that's
Yeah.
not gonna be a burden on staff.
Yeah, let's
But I
give
think
it a
that
chance.
having some way to recognize the township in the parade and the anniversary would be a good thing. We
right,
can do it with minimal impact to the other activities that staff have already on their plate.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because the commemorative collectible is significantly less taxing
Sure.
on anyone. And the fall festival display is also less taxing because you're just basically creating a display. You know,
Well,
a
they
float
might
is
have
something
essentially
that has to have,
That,
yeah,
yeah,
you know, a float is,
we
you
need
know,
a truck.
A moving display.
a moving display.
Truck or a trailer or something. I mean, lots of groups use them, so I wasn't talking about having Public Works design, paint and
Well,
whatever.
yeah,
just-
but I mean, you know,
Just
we
nailing it to the frame.
we have to have
whatever.
a full court on this at some point.
It's a little less
I
mellow.
think we need to let the committee
Nail.
start before we pull.
Okay. All right, well then Michael needs to set up a meeting for next week. Cause I mean, it's December next week.
Well, we need to appoint the committee first.
Yeah, that's what I
right?
mean, like, we need like ads
So,
with,
at our next meeting, we should appoint them.
So based on what I'm listening from the board, we will craft a resolution that creates the ad hoc committee and appoints them. I will then reach out to them to set up a meeting where they will do what all our boards do, which is establish a chair, establish their hierarchies, set some meeting dates for the year. To, you know, have a standard monthly meeting to talk about, and we'll make sure that stuff is prepared and ready to go, hopefully for the January reorg meeting, so the board can see that. But we'll get the resolution in front of the board on the 12th.
sounds good.
And there is money in the 2023 budget for the 300s also.
Yay. Okay.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Departmental reports.
Most departmental reports have been submitted and are saved on SharePoint and included in the packet. Chief Clouser had a matter that he would like to discuss with the board this evening. And I turn it over to Chief Clouser.
Thank you, man. So the police department budget for 2022 includes $12,000 for equipment purchase. We had that earmarked for body worn cameras. We're not going to be in a position to purchase body worn cameras this year. We're still in the process of evaluating. We're on our third company right now that we're evaluating for body worn cameras to make an informed decision on who we want to go with. Forward thinking, if the budget for 2023 gets approved the way it's been presented, that would include the hiring of a new officer. One piece of equipment that we identified that we would need to purchase for that new officer is a portable radio. The price of the portable radio is about $6,700. So we're looking to.
One radio?
Yes. I said the same thing, and one of the things that's happening with portable radios, is that the county, since they dispatch us, and they have certain requirements that, have to be on the radio, that's increasing the price. So radios are now being equipped with Wi-Fi capability, and a bunch of other stuff that I don't truly understand. But, the ask is to move forward with purchasing this radio with the 2022 budget, which is basically for equipment purchases.
Would you still need the 12,000 for the body worn cameras next year?
So we budgeted 19,000 next year for body worn and in-car cameras, because we're applying for another grant for in-car cameras. So we could work with the PCT grant that we just got. We'll be working there's things for the body worn cameras that's included in our computer line items as well, because we need a server that can handle the
Data.
even though we're gonna store it on the cloud, we still have to have a server here that's dedicated to video storage. So that it's multiple line items that we're looking at taking from for the body to support body worn cameras. And the grant will offset the rest of it. So for 2023, yeah, we have the funding there. It's in the budget. And then, 2024 will be the ask for the additional amount that we might need for body worn cameras. And that'll be an ongoing expense for the township, since we're doing cloud-based storage. There's fees that go along with that annually. So it's not like we're going to purchase body worn cameras and it goes away. It's an ongoing expense.
Yeah, but what's that ongoing expense?
It depends on who we go with, the cloud-based storage, and for the in-car cameras as well. So it can range anywhere from, for all body worn cameras and in-car cameras, it can range anywhere from $10,000 a year to $20,000 a year. And that's why, we're using the grant to offset that for the first 2 years at least.
Starting several years ago, the FCC changed which bands in the VHF spectrum were, you guys probably know that already. And I think a lot of the radio companies took that opportunity to say, oh, well, we need to change our radios, we'll add all these other things that now become requirements, and thus Chief is confronted with all that cost. In regard to your earlier question.
So unlike previous motions, this won't require a motion by the board to reauthorize any funds because it's still police
The
equipment.
same line item.
So we wanted to just bring it to your attention, saying that while we had budgeted for body worn cameras in the 2022 budget, we're not at the position yet to move forward with it yet. And so Chief has identified another use for those funds, which will help us in 2023. If the 2023 budget gets approved as presented, which includes the hiring of an additional officer, to make that investment now to invest in another radio. Just wanted to bring it to your attention to see if you had any concerns about that.
No concerns.
So we're gonna move forward with it, and you'll see that as an approval in an upcoming meeting once we get the invoice, because we don't, that's the other thing, the timing of it, we don't know when we're gonna get the radios. Once again.
Is this the radio that's used by all officers?
Yes,
So it's just,
same version. And when I found out, I didn't quite realize, I thought we purchased new radios about 5 years ago, finding that some of the radios are older than 7 or 8 years. The life expectancy on a radio, especially since they're assigned their radio, so they take care of it a little bit better. It doesn't get used 24/7. So you can get 10 to 15 years out of a radio, usually 12 years, you need to start planning on replacing it. So that'll be in a capital expenditure, so we'll start putting that in the capital plan.
Fantastic.
The only other item I have is we did get the invoice for the upfitting of the new vehicle. So the upfitting is complete. That was approved by the board back in April. It actually came in about $112 less than what was quoted. The vehicle.
Put that in reserves.
We'll take receipt of the vehicle.
Bill.
We'll take receipt of the vehicle probably early next week. And then it'll go for striping.
Very cool.
Okay.
Good job bringing it in under budget.
Hello.
Hey,
Every little bit.
That's right.
a penny is still a penny.
That's right.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions for Chief? Any other questions from Mr. West or Michael? No? All right. Solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only one thing to report that was not on the confidential report that I gave you in executive session. We are in receipt of approximately 30 boxes out of a total of around 45 boxes of New Britain Township files from the previous solicitor, Grimby and Thatcher. I've been able to catalog the 30 boxes that are in my possession. The remaining 12 to 15 boxes, it's not due to Grim, it's just logistics of finding the time and the availability to get there, get the boxes, and then get them to my office the next day. So it's just a matter of me having to get there to get those. But I've been able to catalog 2/3 of the total boxes, and I have a list that I'll provide to township staff. Once the township staff has gone through and identified what the township wishes to keep, any other documents which the township does not wish to keep may be destroyed under the township document construction policy.
All right, very good.
Have you found any wonderful gems that could help us with the 300 ad hoc committee?
I haven't seen anything that would help with 300. There are a couple of files that are related to some land development projects that have come before you in the last few months that I don't think are really, I wouldn't say that they're helpful, but they might be informative to things that you've been considering or will be considering.
Okay, will you make those known to us?
Of course.
As in, will you give us
I'll
a?
highlight that, and yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be obvious upon the same names and same properties. If they pop up like, oh, we're dealing with that right now. That's simple.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for our solicitor?
Is there anything the township can do to help you go get these boxes, or are you?
I live 5 minutes away from Grim. What's really helpful to me is having the availability to get there in the afternoon when there's someone there and be able to keep them in my truck overnight until I can get them to my office in Langhorne the next morning. So I need to look for 2 days in a row where I'm available in the afternoon one day, and morning the next day.
Okay. All right. You ready over there? All right, engineers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have our November engineers report. I have just one change to update the board on. I spoke with Toll Brothers representatives today. We are working on the review for, again, we still don't have a name, so I'm calling it the Overlook at Wawa. I gave an update before. They gotta come up with a name. I'm tired. One email. There's still 44 units. We're wrapping up our review next week. Janine and I will be meeting to have a draft letter. I promised them to have an engineering meeting just to go over a couple items, but I don't see anything major so far. Looks pretty by right, which they promised. They are anticipating being, if it's okay with the board and the manager, presenting that plan with my review letter and updated architectural renderings on your December 12th meeting. It should be pretty short. It should be hey, we promise you by right. We heard you. It doesn't look any different than what the plan you saw before, but they'd like to at least come present. Maybe we can focus on the architecture and the layout of the units. As far as we did that with county builders.
Can I lay out those units across County Line Road?
Have they decided whether they're doing one on top
Believe it or
or?
not, I didn't realize as I was on the phone, actually, Janine pulled up in my office. They had already submitted a couple renderings to the township, so I forgot about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was focused more on the layout, density and everything else, so they will come with complete packets to show you everything. And they're your standard townhouse, too. It's not gonna be a stacked townhouse or something different,
Okay.
so it won't look much different. They're ready after that meeting to go work on their preliminary plans and come in with preliminary land development plans in the new year, beginning of the new year.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, can you get them to have that scanned and digitalized before the meeting so I can see it when you guys are all here? Since it's that camera only faces this direction and not that direction?
Yeah, they'll be, yes, I can ask them to send.
Yeah, because if we have digital copies of it, then Mike is really good about adding them to the Zoom presentation. He'll flip through once they're when they talk about it here.
Well, I'd like to have it. I'll have multiple computers going for it, so I'd like to have. Look at one.
I'm set to reach out to them tomorrow, so I'll make sure I ask for that, because
I actually did mention that today, and they said, oh, we'll bring the whole packet, but so.
And I would like that sort of thing, if you could do that for any meeting, like the PA Rush thing, if that had been referenced at all at any meeting so that people can see it? If we have any other land developments or anything else that, where there's paper presentations, people can't see it when they're watching it 2 or 3 days later, so.
You guys need an Elmo.
Elmo?
An Elmo, you remember when you were young, at least when I was young, which was a long time ago. You'd have the old overhead projector where it was a
Yes.
flat glass and you
Yeah.
lay a transparency and there was,
Yeah.
it would project light through it into
Yes.
a lens and then would project onto a screen.
Yes.
It's the same setup, except it's a digital camera that hangs over the lens, looks down, and then you just put a piece of paper on there and it projects and you can connect it to your YouTube and whatever else, and it just shows it up on the screen.
Oh, that's great. Okay,
We have them, they're in the Justice Center, that's all I know about them, they're in the courtroom.
there we go.
Add that to
Tag,
the
you're in.
wish list.
Ask for digital copies.
Everywhere else, that's standard. Well,
we're
it's
not
not,
everywhere.
no, it's not in the ordinance, they just say, how would you like them, and they love to, they usually submit it digitally. There's no. It's just easier nowadays, they don't want to print out 27 copies of plans, they say, it's okay if we drop off 5 sets of plans and the rest, here's a digital copy, give me one.
Okay.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Tag team that. That's all I have.
Is there any questions for Greg?
Oh, come on.
Nobody has any questions?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
I do, but I'll
No, go
speak,
ahead.
I'll speak, it's not about this, it's about something else I saw come up, speaking of that overlook at Wawa area, I noticed that the storage place wants to expand, and there were some.
We can't talk too much about that, but no.
Okay.
No, I don't know if we can or we can't. Can we or can't we?
Well, yes, we received that application.
Is there any way they could build out into the parking lot, which is all?
Not based on everybody said that. We can ask, I'm not a structural engineer, I don't think their logistics having set up is for that, but I will recommend it. They're proposing a little removal of parking area, and I'm gonna recommend a lot.
I already told you what I think.
A lot of landscaping, because I think when they switched over, I wasn't here for that, but they got away with very minimal landscaping. And I wish I had a picture when that Acme store was built, and how much effort. You guys-
The tons of
the amount of trees.
Yeah.
And our store's going under, we're going belly up because no one can see our store. The whole lot was wooded, so
Nonsense.
I think,
If they wanna increase their impervious or their footprint, at least twice as much parking has to go away.
as far as where to go, I don't think they can. I'm sure they're gonna say no, they can't, but no way they ask.
Any update on the corner of 202 or Butler and County Line?
That's been quiet, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
No, they were gonna go engage with traffic engineer, have to do some reporting, talk to PennDOT and then come back and see.
There's nothing.
Saw a permit from PennDOT at some point from them that they're trying to do their traffic study. For that property.
Speaking of that corner, it's just so attractive, although I haven't been by in a while. Someone came by and took down the huge sign, but left all the other signs and
They're all gone.
they're all gone. Thank you.
That's been just like that for 2 years.
Well, I just happened to go by one day and besides the signage, it appeared there were a lot of weeds and trash and stuff. It's like, welcome to New Britain Township. The armpit of Bucks County. It looked horrible.
I wish 2008 never happened. We had such a grand plan for that corner. It's so beautiful.
Bill Cahan is the guy.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cahan, yeah.
I want one other update, Kevin Riley.
I was going there next.
I cut you guys off. Kevin McGowan, Kevin Riley and I all spoke individually after your meeting where they presented that phase 2 Shelfmont Motor Lodge property. Kevin is pushing hard with the adjoining neighbor there, where that pre-approved the commercial building that was approved. He's gonna look at that, and I said that makes the project much more viable. I think at staff level, we talked about that. You said that as well. I looked at some different architectural layouts. Matt showed me a picture. I did some digging on stacked townhomes, which is really multifamily based on your definition. They're building them at Plumstead right now, along Stump Road near Plumsteadville Inn. They call them contemporary, but they're really multifamily, but they look like a townhouse. They have 2 entrances, and then there's,
I didn't realize that's what they were.
and I didn't either, learned a lot.
You know what they call them in Ocean City, New Jersey? Duplexes.
Except they're all attached, like townhouses.
I got pros and cons on that from a bunch of people on my staff, a couple of attorneys at land use attorneys as well. They're extremely difficult, or they're easy to construct because you get twice the density. So you look at, it looks like 4 townhomes, you're gonna get 2 units, so it's doubles the density, which frees up open space, which is where I was going based on your comment. The problem is it's very expensive to build. Those are like 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot. They call them townhomes, but they're not. They're multi-family. Everybody's zoning around here. They may market that on their website, but that's how it's approved. They're over $400,000.
That's a Lennar development.
Yes, the Lennar development. If you want to go look, head over to Plumsteadville. It's on the right, past my house. Stop for a beer. Go another mile. But the traditional townhomes are in the back. The new contemporary ones stacked, which is the layout you wanted. The bigger ones now are 1,800 square feet. They give a 3rd floor entirely to one of the units. And I hear it's noisy. It's expensive to build. That's why it shoots up the prices. And it really limits actually what you can do, who can afford
So
it.
those units right against the road, they're double density. That's what looks like one is actually 2.
I think, no, I think they're actually in the back.
Like at the
Yeah,
corner.
I think, yeah. I have, if you go on their website, you'll see a difference. Whenever you see doors right next to each other, Matt, I don't know where you live. Lansdale. Is that Lansdale? I got 2 developers on the other side saying my clients don't want to do a pole wall to them. So I brought that up about today. Supposedly County Village does. But it's more towards the city.
No.
It's rural, they were saying it's rural houses.
But if it's put in a place where the application might make more sense, as you say, have more concentrated, less density and more open space, which is what that spot may need. So.
Your zoning, if you want to look it up, it's multifamily is the definition.
Okay.
Because what it does is you have vertical fire. You have vertical firewalls for townhomes. But in this situation, you have horizontal and vertical. The cost goes up. It's basically apartments that look like townhomes. So I'm educated on that now. It's not common around here, but the resale they're so small, it doesn't actually increase the value. I was told others, Nate Fox mentioned that. I asked another attorney, I said, why aren't they doing it? Why don't people do it? They said they can't, the resale value doesn't go up. It usually actually comes down.
Because they're not considered a home.
They're just too small for any people.
1,200 square foot.
1,200 square foot, 1,800 square foot.
Those are
They're basically like a condo.
Yeah.
Really.
Actually, if you look it up, type in stacked townhome on the internet, you'll get basically their condo, their combination townhouse and condo, pros and cons, it's all there.
That's basically where Remington Oaks is. Because they have a ground floor condo, then they have a 2nd floor condo that has a loft up above. So, I mean, that's where you get your, in quote, 3rd floor, if you want to call it that.
Your zoning ones contemplates that. Like, it's right in the zoning ones, vertical and horizontal.
Okay.
So anyway, I did look in that for you, asked around, and it just seems like that's not maybe something, although I think Matt and I both agree, we like the look, probably some other people do, I'm not sure that might be the good fit, but
What about the quads? Like there's one building.
they're apartments, that's apartments.
No, I owned a condo like that. There are four units in a building, but we weren't stacked on top.
No, it's like what we have over the old Highlands. You have 4 units together.
Yeah.
Attached together, we call it a quad.
Yeah, quads.
Couple ranches and a couple 2-story units, all attached together.
We can look, I mean, it's funny because I told if they have that product, they go no, so they still stick with their certain products. So
Yeah,
they're not gonna change.
Why? Why change? They're making millions as it is.
Mhm.
All right.
Look at Wawa.
So any other questions for? Yeah. The engine, oh goodness,
Contemporary.
all right, Board of Supervisors comments. Anyone?
Everybody, happy Thanksgiving. Have a
Gobble,
wonderful
gobble.
Christmas. Have a great new year.
Oh, that's your leave, when do you leave?
The 2nd of December.
There you go.
So, but no, it's true. Have a great Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll be leaving before
Oh,
that
you won't
time at
be
9 a.m. We'll be gone.
Going the other way. I think she's
Not-
heading to an airport, right?
Yeah, Newark.
Oh,
Oh, goodness, yeah, yeah.
So, yes. Have a wonderful holiday party.
that's right.
When'd you
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself.
I'm not telling you.
Long time.
Not until after the new year?
1st of February.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's why I'm asking, it would be great if we could have some of these presentations and things, and people have asked me. It would be great when people are presented, they can't see it when they're on the thing.
Oh, I
And I'm
want,
on
do you know how badly I want a board on that wall right there?
Yeah, but a board on the
Yeah.
wall still doesn't solve
That
her
doesn't
problem.
solve
Yeah,
it.
I know,
because it
but for the
needs to be a
residents out there,
It
and
would
like,
have to be behind us.
Well, or a movable camera, or a camera that you could have two, and then you could just flip between one to the other.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes. Let's- Elmo.
Add it to the wish
Yes.
list.
Yep,
Okay.
there we go. I think everybody else is quiet.
we done?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
You too.
Yeah, mine's significantly shorter than yours.
Hi.
All right, motion to adjourn. Oh, wait, hold on.
I'm gonna read your
Yes, I have to read my little spiel here. You guys done with your sidebar?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We're investigating contemporary townhomes.
Oh, goodness
I just pulled
gracious.
something
I'm
up,
gonna
so-
gavel you guys. All right, the next meeting of the Board of Supervisors of New Britain Township will take place on Monday, December 12th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here at the Township Building. The agenda and materials we posted to the Township website prior to that date, newbritontownship.org. Along with that information, the following information is provided. The recording of this evening's meeting will be on the Township's YouTube's webpage. Website. Good God, I want to be done. Within the next 24 to 36 hours. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.